So basically, what you see here so we have this loop here within our yard is here. The north turn, north is that way. So the lines that run along the front and the back of the trailer, I want you to consider this and how they connect. See, as I was dealing with someone in my environment that was stationary on the porch, and I could tell 444 just by my own past experience and different stuff that there was something negative going on. I could feel it. It was like an anchoring or a trying to connect or something that I wasn't agreeing with anyway. By my own actions, I wasn't agreeing with it. Wasn't having it. And I was able to take, following along this line of the back, and then following along the line of the front, I was able to sever that connection from this place and time and let it stay with the person that was trying to either discharge it here in my environment, because this person was laying out their little rocks that they do. You know, if someone wants to show you something and you're not really interested in seeing it, or you're not feeling that it's something that's being told, usually you'll have that intuition. You'll know, like, okay, I don't want to look. I don't want to see that. I'm not interested in that. And a lot of times people do it with their little rock things they have and shit. And when I find people's, and this is something people do, usually the most blind on one side people in the like sort of spiritual warfare, tank stalking shit. You know, because a lot of it is unconscious. People are doing unconscious shit. You know why? Because I think that when entities are driving you, entities are driving your actions, and it's because your motivations to do anything aren't on the up and up. So this was going on in my area, and anytime I found any rocks just sitting in my house, I threw them outside. Maybe that's extreme, maybe not, I don't know. But when I worked along this line, and I know on the yard I'm not going to draw it all out or do none of that, but along the front little area line, I want you to think ley lines, because they do, I've connected them in to how they affect me and how they fractalize into this little area where I live. I had the first encounter right here was with the I caught a lizard. The lizard was in one of those little nets, and I believe it's on my video. And that one was, I got some scissors and I started working on the little net and cutting the lizard out, and he was free, he was alive, but he wasn't going to be alive. He was going to die. Because he had it really tight around his neck, he had it really tight around his arms, and he was stuck in there. He had run across it, got in it, and he wasn't able to get out on his own. He was very docile. And the weird thing about it is when I went out there to get I find this happened to a snake, and the snake died. And I don't know when exactly it was, but when I stumbled across the snake, already died. It was, just a strip of rotting meat and all of the ribs woven in that net. And I put that in the fire out in the front because I have a little area where I burn certain stuff. And I'd recently renewed my tools, with the last one being the cup, which I have down to when I change it over, it'll be appropriate, but until then, it's not. It's not going to be appropriate. It's the last tool that I'm changing because it's the area of where I need the most work. Just because emotions, clearly it was the battleground here again, because my friend wasn't hearing my emotions, and was trying to shut me down, because the emotions would have shed light onto some things. That's my belief. I wasn't really mad at her per se, but she wasn't really gonna help or look at her own self, which is usually what is needed to occur. Is when you have something going on and it connects with you and it's called shareable. That's a shareable thought, and that shareable means that whatever's going on, it applies to everyone. It's not just you. It applies to the ancestral spirits. It applies to, a lot more things. And it really did. It really did. It was just the way it was, I was perceiving it. At first, I wasn't interested in that. And the big part of their lack of interest was their misunderstanding on why it was needed to be shared. There wasn't a male-female reason or a point the finger at you reason. And I got very early on the misunderstanding of that. But this is why I think the lizard, when I burnt the piece of stuff out here and I drew in the ley line energy to come and deal with that, which is why I was out there. I was protecting my own homestead range from the activities of what I was observing and intuiting were going on. This when I found the lizard, because the lizard was not on the net that I had. I put it on the fire, and then I threw another piece of wood on it, and then I looked, and I saw the lizard on a piece of net that I had already had, and I was holding in my hand, so it wasn't there before, it was suddenly there. And he was alive, so, I tore it out, and then I brought it forward, and I got right here in this area, and I freed it. This was the area to cut and disconnect or connect a greater connection. So I severed that link. I did it the day before. Then the day after, or whatever, it was going on again. The same shit. You know what I mean? This person was going hard into working on this thing, this object. And I'm telling you now, because the energy that they're putting into it, by my own interaction with that person, can tell you the object isn't going to be a good object. It looks good. The work is fine. But the animating spirit of creation that was making it was already frustrated, confused, and being inhospitable in another person's place, or being, it wasn't good. So I went along this line, because my dad had told me a story in the morning about, in this shed, there was a snake that used to come at him. And right here where this bend is, I had seen a snake the day before. Now, I hadn't seen any snakes this whole season, and I'm a barefoot person out in the summertime, so I have to be extra careful because I'm, like I said, I'm a barefoot, grounded earth walker, and wells. I didn't have anything on me to do anything about the snake, but whack it with 3 fucking whacks of a stick that I found. But after my dad told me these things, I went along the line and I had some of the tools I had, and I went into this area, and there was a giant butterfly in there flying, which I had just scooped into a small jar that I had. And I came along this line and got right in front of this person. They never looked. They never looked up. Checked one more time. Was testing to see the awareness. The awareness wasn't there. I had to go into my house and come through. I had the speaker box, which we had power running out where I could plug it right there. So it was right behind this person was the speaker box. And the speaker box was getting connection according to what I was doing, and the connection would stop according to what I was doing. I was listening in and working on it through this person who wasn't paying attention, didn't care, wasn't aware, didn't see. And then I put I got one of those globes, like really ornate sort of globes that goes on your lights with little spiky things. I put the butterfly in there, and it was in there for just a brief period of time. And then at the appropriate time, I released it. Now, I do know that there was some sort of battle going on between the positive and the negative. But most of it was in the subconscious realm, and it was very, just coming out of the surface in the human realm. But my friend, it wasn't, because she didn't choose, I believe correctly, to either let me share or listen, but rather stayed on stuck on her own shit, whatever it is. It doesn't even matter, because if I was trying to share something, and I was under a lot of stress, because my dad was going to the hospital, maybe going to have to stay, and in the death process, so it's not like I'm out of line. I'm not giving myself any other fucking pass other than to say that these things were clearly going on, and this person clearly could be aware of that and was choosing their own little shit, and maybe even didn't even have the awareness or the consciousness to note how many times before, and that her own personal world information flow had brought her to that exact same spot at my home. There wasn't a respectful interaction at all in that. It was very disrespectful and whatever. And I don't think that's from the human. I think that the human that doesn't gain the awareness continues on, and the spirit maintains the view, or the full scope view, whatever it be. And it be a dark one. So when that occurred, it was separated off. I had seen that, and I bubbled it off so that it would not continue to affect my life. But a lot of it was unconscious. But I know the tracks to go in my own little area, and I usually know when it's one of those sort of battles. So, but if you use the land and interact with your own land, it will help you in spiritual battles and warfare. If you've put your time into it and interacted with it, you'll be able to just go into your own area and fight these battles out. You know, because the enemy or the darkness will have to just pick a stationary place, especially during the time of the daytime. You know, because they'll have the light of the sun upon them, and they won't be able to just move around. There's no darkness for them to conceal their self in, and they won't want to move around, because moving around in the light would begin to show them things that they don't want to look at regarding themselves and whatever. This has happened many, many times before, but I count it as a victory, although it makes me upset that the person had done like this. But I thought I would share.